Okay.
Okay.
The first question is from David. Actually, we got a few people asking this question. How did you
Okay.
guys meet?
So do you want to start with that one, Dale?
So Don and I very nearly met in Alberta at ESSA Resources Canada Limited, but not quite. You were a co-op
Yeah,
there just before I was.
that's right. So I was there in 1986
Yeah.
because I remember the Challenger. I was there during the Challenger disaster. Yeah.
Okay. So, but anyway, we didn't meet at ESSA Resources Canada Limited. Instead, we met at McDonald Detweiler on a project called GeoMate.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was really an in-home a GIS system, and in many ways it was really leading edge. There was lots of great technology there. I mean, right out of the gate, it was built on C++, which at that point was, not really ready for prime time. I remember running this thing called C Front, and yeah, yeah.
And then CBAC also.
C back, that was an optimizer for C Front, and then that would go into the C compiler.
So that was
But yeah, I
1990.
totally remember the first day I met Dale. Like, they took me around because Dale was there before I was, and they took me around, and yeah, went and remember going into Dale's office, and he turned around, and of course he has that smile, right? That everybody who's met Dale knows. He has that welcoming smile. So, and he looks exactly the same today as he did then. Yeah.
Just about the same length of hair. But
Yeah.
Don and I, there's a question in here too that relates to that, but Don and I became good friends very quickly because that was during the height of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And so
That's right.
we would sit
Yeah.
at the same
Yeah.
lunch table and get into very passionate discussions about the workings of the Romulan Klingon conflict and all kinds of things like that. So anyway, that was how we got to know each
Yep.
other until
Yep. And it was
starting.
spatial. And then I ended up going to air traffic control, working on the airspace model. But we kept in touch. And then I ended up going to BCIT to teach. And yeah, and Dale and I always said that, hey, if we start a company, let's do it together. And Dale came across this thing for the BC government, and we looked at it and said, yeah, let's bid on it. And it was, yeah. So it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the origin story.
Yeah. 30 years ago. Whew. So
Yeah, everyone needs a good origin story. Love it.
yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
okay.
All right, this question in from Lewis. Why does the west coast of Canada have so many geospatial shops? And were some of them out of growth of others? Is that the reason?
Sure.
Well,
I'll start on this one. Yeah. You want me to start? Okay.
yeah,
It's
go ahead.
tough when we're not in the same room
Yes.
because when the same room, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, a lot of them. There's an interesting graph we had or I guess it was an infographic on our wall at Safe, and it sort of traced all the high tech companies in BC and where they came from. And of course, MDA McDonald Detweiler was one of the early ones, and it was founded in 1969. I'm going to say, does that sound right? And so a lot came out of that, and it was all about ground stations and things like that. So that's one reason. We also have great schools. We have BCIT that has an amazing GIS program, and then the BC government, the way Safe got started, they've like if there's a government that's really supportive of local industry, they can really make a huge difference. And Mark Sondheim would be a guy who really put himself out there. And I know Dale and I, have nothing but kind words and amazing memories of just the support that few people like that have made. Yeah.
So related to that point, BC in the 80s was the largest, best mapped place in the world because of all the
Yeah.
resources here. And actually, Dave Campanis, one of our staff members, worked on some of those early mapping things, same as Rob McMillan, staffer at SAFE. So BC was this huge place, lots of map data, and now you got all this data, what starts to happen? And so companies like ours get started doing things, and there were quite a few in their era that there was a couple of local GIS companies, they got bought up, but then, as Don said, the government started to fund some interesting initiatives, and from that you had PostGIS came out of that, the Java
Yeah.
topology.
Paul Ramsey. Yeah.
And so really, we're both pretty big fans of government basically using small amounts of money to place bets on small companies and see what happens. And I know it kind of goes against the normal way government works because they want a guaranteed outcome, but by kind of gambling on some smaller fish, you can end up creating at least some moderately sized fish later on.
Yeah.
Actually, Dave is online too, so that's
Yeah.
nice, Dave Campanas. He's on Q&A if anyone has questions for him.
Yeah, I'm going to ask about photogrammetry.
Yeah, exactly. Or
Yeah,
memory.
he has great. He has lots. He has lots of great stories.
Cool. Okay, this question in from Mark. Has the FME development roadmap been impacted by COVID-19?
You want to take it, Don?
Okay. Sure, sure. I think for sure everything's been impacted by COVID-19. I think at this point we don't know how that is. I mean, we have, perhaps there's going to be ideas that come in. We have the COVID license program. As far as the team at SAFE, we were really well positioned to work from home. We had a really we have 1 gigabit up and down going in and out of our building, so everybody's able to work remotely. There's been less, in some cases, there's been less distractions because there's normally this time we have, just an army of people spanning the globe doing the world tour. And so we were forced this year to do the virtual thing, which was a huge success. And there's no, trade shows and things like that. So yeah, has it impacted it? Probably. We might get some things done we wouldn't have, and so yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I think so too. If anything, it feels like the team is actually more focused and dug right in. This week is kind of an interesting one because it's our innovation week where people can work on anything they want to. And so that's our first time, of course, doing that when people aren't together. And so it's going to be pretty exciting to see what everybody comes up with. But it does feel like we're pretty focused on some of these roadmap things that we've been planning for a long time, that because, not to overplay Don and me our influence, but the fact that we're around and engaged instead of all over the place, I think is helpful. Maybe I'm inflating my own impact, but there's just less distraction. I mean, there's basically no
Yeah, less
distraction.
distraction for us, maybe more for the rest of the team.
Yes, they might be wishing for those days when we'd be in a different time zone.
Yeah, geez, don't those guys need to go on the road? Yeah.
How long is it
so
till flights are running anyway? When people start emailing me that, I'm going to wonder.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Is this week, the whole innovation week, which our teams are disbanded and they get to do whatever they want, and then Friday they present to the company, which is always a highlight, and that does result in some things ending up in the product, which so yeah. And we were also lucky that we had folks who were driving the whole agile, Jira, OKRs, and all those sorts of things that we've put in place over the last number of years, and really had tools that now those things are really paying off too. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's, and actually another part of that was our early move to different cloud-based technologies. So people like Don and I can do most of the work we need to do without actually ever using the VPN. Because all of our stuff is out in the cloud already.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing though with the COVID thing, of course, is aside from us all worrying about all those we care about, is just we really enjoy being in the same building and having those face-to-face discussions. As good as mobile, all this mobile technology is with web technology, but it is, we have a lot of fun and we work hard and we have a lot of laughs, and it's, I tell lots of good jokes and now I just tell them to an empty room and it's just not the same. Yeah. I still laugh though.
There is a strong culture of sports, for example, at SAFE. And I know that a chunk of those folks that would be like using this gorgeous weather to be out there playing soccer and so on are feeling a loss there. So yeah, there's loss and we're just trying to make the best of it. I think product wise though, I think FME 2021 is already looking pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, with innovation days this week too, if people want to follow us on Twitter, that's probably the place where we're going to share some of the things that happen as they go on. So if you're curious to see what comes out of it, head over there. Okay, this question from Brian. It's kind of a long one, so here we go. Currently, we're only an FME desktop user. Not certain we have the needs yet for using FME server. Can you send any links in the SAFE community or blog where we might learn more about getting started with FME Server? They want to learn more about FME Server from the community as much as learning, or sorry, I think that's worded a bit. Basically, they want to learn more about FME Server. Where can they go to find out?
Right, yeah. So, yeah, so I'd say, yeah, so, and I think we have a blog series coming up, or some stuff coming up on 5 reasons if you're an FME desk. It might be 6 or 7, but anyway, the idea is reasons how you can get value from FME Server if you're a desktop user. Also, if you just want to try it, for pilots, proof of concepts to play around, then we can easily make that available for you as well. We do that for folks. And then if it goes into production, of course, then you've gotten value from it, and then you can you can pay for it. But or just our online chat, like ask questions, say, hey, this is what what are some of the things that I can do that can really help too. Yeah.
I think, Don, like, depending on what people want to try out, you can grab a fairly good credit to get using FME Cloud for free for a while as well, which is basically
That's
FME
right.
Server.
Yeah, that's right. So they can do that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do have a webinar and blog post coming up for that topic specifically. It's in the works, but if you look at safe.com/webinars, it should be there in the next few weeks. It'll be a webinar happening in May. So look out for that. It's exactly this topic, and there is a blog coming too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, hang on. I lost my little document, my phone. Okay. So this question from Simon. You've talked a lot about FME Server in the World Tour webinars. Do you, this would kind of answer this, do you have any home user licenses for this software so people can explore the potential future uses of it?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, just download it and contact us and we can get you going on that. Yeah. And again, it's always the same thing. If it goes into production, then you buy it. Yeah.
Cool. Actually, if someone on the Q&A team wants to chat out some of the links for where they can find that, that would be awesome. This question from Jessica. If you didn't start SAFE, what would you be doing now?
That's a good question. I mean, I think we'd both be in software for sure, because that's been, that's our passion, and what we what we do. That's our craft, I guess you could say. But yeah.
I was probably one day away from signing to be an IT guy at Dow Chemical in Fort Saskatchewan and Edmonton before MDA recruited me. So in that version of the multiverse, I'm probably a hobby farmer on the weekends, and I have a nice job running on the VAX VMS in Fort Saskatchewan.
Too funny.
But probably, Don, you might still be a BCIT instructor.
Yeah, I probably would have been. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought I had won the lottery there. It was so much fun. The students were great, and yeah. And I was looking forward to, me taking time off. Everybody laughs, but I was thinking, wow, you got all these long vacations. But of course, we started Safe Software, so I actually never did take any time off at all.
Actually, by now, if we hadn't started SAFE, my goal actually was to eventually become an instructor of some kind. So I might be joining Don. He and I will be having coffee at BCIT probably.
That's right.
So funny. I could actually picture that alternate universe. You guys probably would have still been doing something together. So funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, this question from Carl. Will FME Server ever support SAML based single sign-on? ArcGIS
Yeah,
Enterprise.
sorry.
That was it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a great question. And security, so SAML, so security is something we work at on every release, and SAML has been bantered about on the halls. It's currently not on the 2021 roadmap, but this is really where a leading on question to this is, how do you guys decide what to put in the next product? And we have that ideas board, and that really is, there's I guess there's 3 places we get it from. One is ideas board, other is looking for trends in industry, and then maybe a third is just other things that we think are going to make a big difference, right? And so the SAML one is the fact that you asked that here. I mean, post that question on the ideas board, and let's see how many people voted up, and then that really does make a difference to yeah. So unfortunately, it's not in the 2021 at this point. Yeah, and also the more specific you can be by exactly what you want. So you I think you mentioned ArcGIS in there. So the more specific you can be, exactly the experience you want is huge.
Okay, I think we have some questions on enterprise integration. So, what other trends are you following concerning enterprise integration patterns?
Oh boy, that's a good one. So we can tell you what we're doing for 2021. We're adding guaranteed delivery. So that's going to be one of the things. And what does that mean? That means if you're pushing data out to a third-party service via, say, email, that's an obvious one, and maybe the email server's down, you'll be able to specify how often to restart in a maximum amount of time. You'll also be able to tell workspaces to restart. You'll have more instrumentation on those. And basically that big thick book that we talk about, that we reference, that's essentially what where we're going now. There's lots of enterprise patterns. I think, how many did we say we did now? I remember working through them all, but ultimately we want to support them all in that book. Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually the second question. It says, is it your goal to make it possible with FME server to create all 65 integration patterns?
Right.
Yeah.
And right now, yeah, there are some that cannot be created with FME, like guaranteed delivery right now.
Okay.
So I think ultimately, I don't know that we'll promise we're going to do all 65. We'd have to evaluate the business case for the last few, but in general, if it lines up with other things that we're looking to accomplish, yes, I mean, it's a nice roadmap there, and whoever thought of that, thought those up, there's a reason, and so we're looking to see, and of course, prioritize. I don't know, Don, what's your hunch? There might be a few that we don't ever do, but
yeah, there probably will be a few that we don't do, because so as you get into some of them seem very specific.
Yeah.
And then some of them were a no code implementation. So some of them, like, they might look for a dead letter queue, but we've just done it a different way so that it's easier for people to find and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I chatted out a link to the Knowledge Center or the FME community as well with the ideas board, so people can probably put their ideas there. Okay, kind of a fun one from Jonah. What is the weirdest thing you've ever used or tried to use FME for? I mean, you did that a little bit.
Okay, well, Don, we used to make this is going to maybe upset the staff, but we used to do some kind of personalized Christmas card thing for all the staff.
Yes. And we would write about 100 sentences and then it would glue them all together in random ways. Yes.
We're not complaining. We get really nice Christmas presents, so that's okay.
So yeah, using FME to sort of auto-generate Christmas greeting messages, that would be on the fringe, probably.
Yeah. Dimitri's used FME for a lot of weird things.
Yeah,
right?
that would be a fun Dimitri question. You should maybe tag him on Twitter.
Yeah. So we'll have to ask Dimitri, what's the weirdest thing he's ever done? Yeah.
The first ever Innovation Days featured our chief scientist, Kevin Weeb, using FME to create a theremin, which is this instrument by just raising your hand and lowering it, it plays different sounds. And I don't exactly remember how, but FME was used to simulate this.
Yeah, that's right.
So
and it's been used for running sports pools and a whole bunch of different things, right? To pick the teams and look at all the stats and yeah.
Basically, if you can dream it, we've probably done it.
Actually, I have used it, I think maybe some of the salespeople too, to create drafts of email messages. So you load up from a trade show, you can create a whole bunch of drafts using FME and then go in and personalize them afterwards. That's a thing that's a little bit weird too.
Yeah, that's right. We had fun with little bits, that's for sure.
Oh, little bits.
Yeah.
Don's
lots of fun with little bits. You'll remember I was on a little bit kick.
Yes.
For a while. Yeah, a lot of fun.
Video. I'll try and chat it out here when I get a second. But this question from Martin.
I used to have a light that would come on my desk when one of my workspaces that I didn't want to fail would fail. So I come in the morning and the light would be on. It was like, oh no. So yeah.
That's so good.
But now
Okay,
I just Slack myself a message. So it's, yeah.
efficient. From Martin, long term, do you see FME desktop slowly being replaced with an editable version of FME server?
My gut there is that the power on the desktop isn't going to be forgotten, especially for a chunk of our audience who's moving big amounts of geospatial data and so on. But that said, you can't deny that more and more things are conveniently cloud-based. And so we're heading towards a world where the desktop will continue to evolve and get better and better and better. And yes, you're going to start to see some workspace editing on the server side, and that's going to grow and grow and grow and grow. And then it'll kind of be a race to see what features make sense in each place. I don't know what you think,
Yeah.
Don, but that's the
Yeah.
trajectory I see.
Yeah, totally. And some of the things we're going to see on the desktop, like, the caching on desktop when you're authoring, I mean, that's a game changer. And you're going to see us use that information we have in new and wonderful ways. It's just going to make the power on the desktop be huge. And again, agreeing with Dale said there, but sometimes you just want to make a really small edit on a workspace. Maybe you want to change a private parameter, or maybe you just want to change, a value on an existing transformer, or small things like that. And now it's a bit cumbersome, and so you'll see us be able to do more there. So yeah, but we are working on both for sure, because yeah, people want to be able to do both. Yeah.
There has been a lot of work actually. That this sounds like trivial. Hey, let's just make it work in the server. But no, there's a lot of plumbing. And of course, FME itself is a 20-plus-year-old thing. So you have to reimagine and reinvent some of the core
Yeah.
pieces. And people don't know, but under the covers, we've done a lot of prep work for several years now, gearing up for the idea of server editing workspaces. And we're not quite done that foundational work, but that's what's happening. We're building this, and the good news is that the desktop people won't even notice anything happens. If anything, actually some stuff gets a little better, and then all of a sudden one day, bloop, a huge bunch of stuff will become powerfully available on the server side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Okay. What is the best functionality you like in FME desktop?
What delights me? Probably the modern visual preview with the ability to see what's going on at all the different steps. That really was a massive leap forward. And I've been doing, like, even the last couple of days, I've been doing some work for Innovation Days, and again, being so pleased that I can be handling million row tables like that and looking at what's going on and so on. That the high data volume stuff combined with the visual preview, and we know we always have more to do, but nonetheless feels pretty good. If I was working with the old-fashioned 40,000 feature data sets, I'd have to think it would be lickety split.
Yeah, yeah. And mine's related to that, but it's the caching. But of course, that fuels some of the things Dale's talking about. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, this
Working with
question.
databases and web services is a game changer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. This question from Bob: if FME the movie was made, which actors should play you?
Oh, geez, that's funny. Well, I'm going to imagine it's sort of a movie on the lines of what's that? Jumanji? Is that the name of it?
Oh,
Yeah. So I would go with The Rock.
Yes.
He's a bald guy, and he doesn't take himself too seriously, and I think it would be funny to see what he would do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so maybe I have a bit of
I don't
so I'm thinking I'd like Ben Affleck to play me.
know.
He did The Accountant, so it's not that different.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Too funny.
Oh, that'd be
That's
a
a
great
fun.
film. Okay, from Jonah. Are there any plans to enhance or increase integrations or transformers with more of Esri's AGOL apps, like Survey 123, Workforce, etc., for 2020?
Well, we have done a lot to do with basically webhook connections to those mobile apps. And actually, I had a note to check to see. I can't ever remember if it was Collector or Survey 123. One of those had webhooks, and we've done some work. I know Sienna was even showing it last year at the Esri UC, and we talked with the team that was doing the other one. So yes, there are many customers out there using FME server, especially in those workflows involving the Esri mobile apps. On the ArcGIS Online side, there's an ArcGIS Online connector that's about to become available that's going to increase our ability to move data in and out of ArcGIS Online. And we continue to look to build out more and more connectors to the ArcGIS world. And lastly, the whole utility network is a big deal for us, and that'll be followed by the parcel fabric and their various specialty data models we'll continue to work with more and more. But yeah, if people have specific things, they should chime in and let us know. But in general, we want to work very, very closely and well with Esri stuff. We know there's about a 50% overlap. In other words, 50% of our customers are hardcore Esri customers, and we really want to make it easy for them.
Okay, going into some questions about our mascots. So let's start with, what is the story of the FME lizard?
That's on Don.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we have fun, and we have a guy, Colin, who does our splash screens, and he was, I don't even remember what year it was. Anyway, a long time ago, he had the splash screen, and there was this lizard sitting underneath a leaf, you know, like a flower, in a lawn chair, drinking a margarita, I think, or some beverage. And so I said, I love it. We got to go with the lizard, but the drinks got to go. And then before you knew it, as things happen at SAFE, it was, the lizard has been there for forever. And I remember there was one splash screen we never had the lizard, but users were looking for him, and they said, I think I see a shadow of the lizard or thing. So it became clear with that he was, you know, embraced by our user community very quickly. So yeah.
There was even a talk at the FME user conference in Germany, was it last time or a couple times ago, by a longtime user who explored all the splash screens and tried to assign meaning to what's going on with the lizard, and that was quite impressive.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Okay, this one, okay, this comment's kind of funny. Okay, it was, who dreamed up Zipster? And then someone commented that Zipster looks a bit like Don.
Well, the Zipster, my look here came after the Zipster, so I guess you'd have to say that I really think the Lipster is a very handsome looking fella, and so I went home and I said, what can I do to look more like a Zipster? And so there you go, I shaved my head.
So the Zipster's origin story was actually in whatever year that was, we started supporting reading zip files. And so
That's
we
right.
thought we would have some fun with the fact that we can natively read and write zip files. And from that, the Zipster was born, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cool.
And somebody wonders why the lizard doesn't have a name. And yeah, it's like, it's a kind of a, there was even Mark Stokes had this thing at one of the world tours where he was tried to do some research for the lizard to find out his name, and he never did figure it out. So yeah, we just call him the lizard. Yeah.
The lizard stuck.
Now it's been so long like that. No, if we did pick a name, half the people would be upset, right? So we, yeah.
Question from Jennifer: if we had a third mascot, what would it be?
Yeah, we've had some fun with pay as you go. I'd say peg. It's a peg. We need the picture. We need, it's a pig. And if you go online, you can actually find a logo of a pig that has the letters PAYG in it. But anyway, so yeah. And the hamster was sort of something that, these aren't serious, but it was sort of, like FME server. It's like a hamster on a wheel, we've said, where it just does all the automation for you, right? So yeah.
The automation's hamster.
The automation hamster. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
but there's problems with both those. They're not as solid as the lizard or the Zipster.
They're really secondary characters.
Yeah, they are. They're supporting cast. Yes.
Yeah. Sonia just sent me a message. It was 2013 Zipster came for the FME World Tour. I think you guys went to Mars. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Then question
people
from
for a while were concerned. They thought the Zipster and maybe the lizard were like arch enemies or something, but no, they're buddies. Yeah.
Well, on Twitter they sometimes come across like that, but they're just best friends
playing around.
Like,
yeah, they play around. Yeah.
Okay, from Brian. Are there any plans to add attribute tables to FME AR?
Whoa. Not immediately, I would say, but I understand. So the desire would be that as I'm looking at a scene, I can click or tap on something and now get a readout of its properties. And so I wouldn't say we'll never do that. That relies on us kind of reimagining the tech we're using underneath that. But I absolutely think that would be possible. Would really like to know what Brian's interested in. I think, Stephanie, do you know, do we have a webinar on FMEAR planned for the next few months? It seems like,
Yeah, I was in the works of chatting with Dimitri about that. So it's definitely on the table. If people
yeah.
want to see that or anything specifically, please do chat to us. We do consider it, but yeah,
Yeah.
we're looking into that. As co-founders, where do you see safe software and FME 5 to 10 years forward?
People work hard and then people are lucky, and then people work hard and are lucky. And I think people say, wow, how are you guys so successful with safe software? I mean, A, we work really hard, so it's not but B, we also we did arrive at a very fortuitous time. I mean, we were able to get safe.com, so the whole internet was starting. And so the data volumes were not that big. And we started off in spatial, and spatial is only over time is becoming more and more important, and that continues. And so you're going to see, if you just look at any big database now, and you see that they're adding support for spatial. And we built up this huge treasure trove of all these different data formats that we can support to get data in. And so, data is becoming more important, which is good for us, but also spatial data has become more important. And we've been working on that for 25 years. And spatial data is hard. It's not a date. We always make a joke. It's not like a date column, even though date columns are pretty hard too. So anyway, yeah. And so with those two things, and also FME, we used to initially, like with Workbench, we were purely moving data around or connecting data sets together. Now with Server, we're doing that, but we're also connecting applications together. So Dale and I, looking out 5 and 10 years, we just see more opportunities and more things to get excited about. Definitely not less, as these markets that we're moving into are so much bigger than the markets that we're in now. So yeah.
So I think for me, I'd say all the things Don did, but in addition, some of the parts of FME that need some beefing up to be even more useful to people in an enterprise situation. So as time goes on, we continue to learn things we didn't know, and then we can take moves to address those. And so I think it's actually, if you're a longtime FME user, you're in for some delightful treats as we start to fill in some of these things that within our universe were not important, but in adjacent universes where FME wasn't growing up, have evolved on their own, and we can take some of those ideas and capabilities, like the enterprise integration patterns is actually one of those that's from an adjacent thing that we go, wait a minute, this is totally applicable to what we do, to our customer base. We can, like the Borg, amalgamate and assimilate that in, and then start to add more and more in our relentless pursuit of perfection.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you're going to see more cloud stuff. You're going to see, where you can have FME engines absolutely anywhere. And again, we got on the cloud thing relatively early, but you ain't seen nothing yet, that's for sure. So.
And we can continue as well on the usability. We do know that FME has a pretty steep learning curve, and there are tricks up our sleeve that we can work to double down on. We can increase the amount of designers, for example, at SAFE that are helping us. We've solved the technical problems fairly well. I know we can still do more, and we've got lots of expertise in that. And now it's a matter of making it more accessible and approachable, so even a broader audience can make use of what we've created. And so there's going to continue to be evolution in all these things, and it's actually very, very exciting at this point. We've got a pretty large team that's very skilled and focused, and it's going to be amazing to see what can be accomplished. I just went over a list of some things from 2013 that were some goals as far as FME and high data volume situations go. And we still know we want to do more, but boy, oh boy, have we ever come a long way in that time. And so that was 7 years. And so roll that ahead another 7, it'll be awfully impressive.
Yeah.
Question from Gabrielle. Will you ever open a SAFE branch in Europe, or does SAFE have any offices in the US?
The second part of that's an easy answer.
Yeah, we don't have any offices anywhere outside Canada right now.
Yeah.
But we are always looking at everything and trying to figure out what the best way to serve our customers is. And so
Hmm.
I wouldn't rule anything out. I don't see us having massive presences in other places. I mean, Canada is our home, but if there's ways that we can serve our local users better and it makes business sense, we
Yeah.
will explore them, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
What about you,
Yeah.
Don?
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. You might see something in the US or something maybe in Eastern Canada first, probably
Yeah,
before you see something in Europe. Yeah. Yeah, and we'd have to support our partners. So that's a key thing where we're quite different than some other companies. Is we really work hard not to compete with our partners, but to
yeah,
support our partners and have a unified front, so our customers aren't confused on where is the best to get the best service. Because there's nothing like face-to-face meetings. It doesn't matter how good all this technology is. If you have an FME expert down the street who can well, once this is over, can come and sit with you and work alongside. There's no substitute for that. So yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Mhm.
these offices would be really to support whatever's going on with our partners in those areas, or to increase the hourly coverage, because of course in the
Yeah,
Pacific time zone we don't overlap super well with lots of our
yeah,
customers anyway.
that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which transformer surprised you the most in usage statistics?
Well, I won't say too much other than I think everything that begins with XML should be counted as one. So I'm going to leave it there. So
You think that it's basically rigged against the XML
it's
transformers?
just like all the formats are rigged against it, right? Because yeah, every format, even Microsoft Word is really an XML format, but it's counted as not as XML. So
Well,
yeah.
Excel, Microsoft, first of all, Excel is almost like XML,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
but it is also an XML
Yeah.
based format, Don. So that if you throw that in the mix, then you're in the
That's
top two.
right. That's right. That's right. That's
For me,
right.
it was actually recently that Mark Ireland pointed out that the TCL caller was like the bottom, the cellar dweller of all the transformers. And so
Is
I
that
was,
right? The TCL
yes,
caller. Wow. Yeah.
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 So
And
I
it's
don't know what
interesting
I
over
thought,
time
but
to see the difference. I mean, throwing out guys like the tester and the test filter because they're absolutely used for everything. But it's interesting over time to watch both in formats and in transformers the trends, right? Like the HTTP caller,
yeah,
becoming more popular over time. And in the formats too, you can see how, some of the non-spatial or traditional formats like Excel and CSV have
yes.
really, really, really grown over time. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Maybe time for one last question. How
Okay.
did Minecraft Worlds end up making it into the suite of highly important data formats FME supports?
I
So
think you should do this one, Dale.
right. I mean, it was interesting because early on, one of our partners in Sweden, Ulf Manson, and the folks from Sweco began experimenting and doing some work on their own, making a plug-in to go to Minecraft, and started to get some traction with that with some of the governments there and so on. And so actually, I think then Chris Lundgren at SAFE in an Innovation Days made a stab at it. And in one
Mm.
week had the basics going. And then we said, you know what, let's do the real proper version of this. And so that was
Yeah,
really the evolution. So it was external. And then we kind of chatted with them and decided to do a prototype. And then in it came. And then boom, it turned into a really big deal. And many countries, many different types of situations started to make use of this thing because it really suited FME very well. Aggregate data from a bunch of places. FME is a pretty good 3D kind of situation, and it could turn all kinds of things into point clouds, which effectively are what uh, Minecraft is. They're really voxels for those that know. And I don't even know, Don, if you're too aware, but there is actually a proper voxel subsystem being built in FME right now, which will let
yeah,
us even do
yeah.
better.
And that'll be exciting. Yeah, yeah. No, good.
I think that's probably good for questions, and we'll just do a quick 2-minute wrap up. But if anyone has any questions for Don and Dale that we didn't get to, and there were a lot of them, like we so appreciate all the questions coming in, love seeing that engagement. But if we didn't get a chance to answer it, feel free to send a tweet to Don and Dale. I know you guys are both active on Twitter. So it's Dale
Mhm.
at Safe and Don at Safe, and you can reach out to them there. Or you can also post anything in the FME community. We have discussion groups, and we can always find a way to find Don and Dale and get the answer in there. So that would be great.
Yeah, and reach out to the whole community, safe through the live chat. We really do, pride ourselves in that, and we'll get you the answer. And also there's a new community coming, as you would have heard about earlier this week, and just that's one of the things that we really believe in, is not just working hard to make sure FME is as good as it can be, but also the whole team at SAFE really enjoys helping and really working with all of you. So it's a lot of data's a lot of fun for sure. Yeah.
And I think, I know we're kind of wrapping up. I just want to say, first of all, it's a privilege working with all the team at SAFE. It's been a great ride, but almost as much the whole user community. I'm so blown away by what people do. These user presentations today were absolutely inspirational. So wonderful to see that the work we've been doing for 20 plus years, well, 25 plus years, really is out there making a difference and making the world a better place. And we always would say that the world needs to make better decisions like never before, and never fathomed the situation we'd be in right now. And so I really hope that all of you are out there helping organizations make better choices by harnessing the power of the data you have, and that FME is making at least that part of your job less stressful than it might otherwise be.